Oh, she came alone.
Marcus's new fiancé was mid-laugh, enjoying Serafina's humiliation, when a voice like dark honey cut through the noise. "Sorry I'm late, darling." Serafina spun to find a stranger, devastating, Korean, radiating the kind of power that made people step back without knowing why, and the desperate lie fell from her lips before she could stop it.
Please be my
"This is my
husband.
husband." What she didn't know was that Kang Min-ho, the man she'd just pulled into her desperate charade, was Seoul's most dangerous prosecutor, and the moment his hand touched her waist, something primal and unstoppable awakened inside him. Welcome to Afroseoul Stories, dearies. Please like, share, and subscribe. Serafina Cole had made 3 critical mistakes that evening. First, she'd accepted the invitation to the annual Seoul Charity Gala despite knowing Marcus would be there. Second, she'd worn the emerald dress that hugged every curve of her body, drawing eyes she didn't want. Third, she'd come alone, foolishly believing she could handle seeing her ex-boyfriend with his new fiancé without her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. Now, cornered near the champagne fountain with Marcus's smug face inches from hers, she realized her 4th mistake was believing she could escape unscathed. "You look desperate, Sarah," Marcus said, his voice dripping with false concern. His fiancée, a willowy model named Claire, stood behind him with a smile that could cut glass. "Still single? That's unfortunate." Heat flooded Serafina's cheeks. Around them, Seoul's elite mingled and watched, their interest barely concealed. She could feel their judgment, their pity, their schadenfreude. The successful art gallery owner was brought low by her inability to keep a man. "I'm perfectly fine," she managed, but her voice trembled. "Are you, though?" Marcus leaned closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne, the same one he'd worn when he'd broken her heart 6 months ago. "Because you look like you're about to cry." She was. God help her, she was. And she hated herself for it. That's when panic seized her throat. She couldn't breathe. "I couldn't think." Her eyes scanned the crowd desperately, looking for anything to save her from this humiliation. And then she saw him. Tall. Impossibly handsome. Korean, with sharp features that could have been carved from marble. He stood near the bar alone, watching the crowd with an expression of mild boredom. Their eyes met across the room, and something electric passed between them. Serafina didn't think. She acted. She crossed the distance between them in seconds, her heels clicking against marble. The stranger's dark eyes widened slightly as she approached, surprise flickering across his face. "Please," she whispered when she reached him, her voice urgent and desperate. "I need your help. Just for a moment. Please pretend you know me." His gaze sharpened, taking in her flushed face, her trembling hands, the desperation in her eyes. Then he looked past her to where Marcus stood watching with a frown. Something changed in the stranger's expression. His eyes went from curious to dangerous in a heartbeat. "What do you need?" His voice was deep, accented, utterly calm. "My ex is here with his new fiancé, and he's..." She broke off, humiliation burning through her. "I just need him to think I've moved on. That I'm not alone. I'm sorry, this is insane, I shouldn't have." The stranger's hand wrapped around her waist, warm and possessive, cutting off her rambling apology. He pulled her against his side with a natural ease that made her breath catch. His cologne enveloped her, sandalwood and something darker, more dangerous. "Breathe," he murmured, his lips close to her ear. "I've got you." And then Marcus was there, his expression thunderous. "Sarah, who is this?" The stranger smiled. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once, not reaching his eyes. "Kang Min-ho." He extended his free hand with a politeness that somehow felt like a threat. "Her husband." The world stopped. Serafina's heart slammed against her ribs. Husband? She'd asked him to pretend they knew each other, not that they were married. But when his fingers pressed gently against her hip, a silent question, a lifeline, she made a choice that would change everything. "Yes," she breathed, leaning into him. "My husband." Minho's gaze dropped to her face, and what she saw there made her knees weak. Fascination. Possession. Heat. A promise she didn't understand yet but felt in her bones. Marcus's face went through several shades of red and white. Husband? You didn't mention, when did you? We prefer to keep our private life private, Minho said smoothly. His accent wrapped around the words like silk. I'm sure you understand. Claire appeared at Marcus's elbow, her perfect face twisted with confusion. I thought you said she was pathetic and alone? The words hung in the air like poison. Serafina flinched, but Minho's arm tightened around her. My wife, he said, and the word sent shivers down her spine, is many things. Pathetic isn't one of them. His eyes locked on Marcus, and the temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. I suggest you keep your fiancé's opinions to yourself. Unless you'd like me to share mine about men who speak about their exes at public events. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Marcus paled and retreated, pulling Claire with him. Around them, the crowd had noticed the confrontation, whispers spreading like wildfire. Serafina stood frozen, processing what had just happened. Then Minho's thumb stroked her hip, gentle and grounding. Are you all right? He asked quietly. She looked up at him, really looked at him for the first time. He was devastatingly handsome, yes, but there was something else in his face. Intelligence. Power. A carefully leashed intensity that made her feel both safe and wildly off balance. I don't know, she admitted. I can't believe you just husband? His lips quirked. You asked me to pretend. I simply chose a narrative that would be most effective. Effective at what? Making sure he never bothers you again. His eyes held hers. And giving you a reason to stay by my side for the rest of the evening. Her breath caught. Why would you want that? Minho was quiet for a long moment, his gaze intense and searching. When he spoke, his voice was low, meant only for her. Because when I saw you standing there, panicking, something in me. He stopped, shook his head as if clearing it. I don't know. But I'm not ready to let you go yet. The evening blurred after that. Minho kept her close, his hand never leaving her waist. He introduced her to business associates and politicians, playing the role of devoted husband with an ease that should have been alarming. He knew exactly when to touch her, a brush of fingers along her spine, a protective hand at the small of her back, fingers lacing through hers when someone's attention lingered too long. You're very good at this, Serafina murmured during a quiet moment. At what? Pretending. Something flickered in his eyes. Who says I'm pretending? Before she could respond, the evening's host called for everyone's attention. Speeches. Donations. The usual charity gala performances. Minho guided her to their assigned table. Somehow, miraculously, they'd been seated together, though Serafina suspected he'd arranged it. Throughout the speeches, she was hyper-aware of him beside her. The way his thigh pressed against hers under the table. How his hand rested possessively on her chair. The heat of his gaze when he thought she wasn't looking. You're staring, she whispered during a particularly boring speech about hospital donations. I am, he agreed, not looking away. You're beautiful. You don't know me. Then let me. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. Stay with me tonight. Not here. Somewhere we can talk. Really talk. Warning bells should have been ringing. He was a stranger. She knew nothing about him except his name. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw something that made her ignore every rational thought. Okay, she whispered. Later that night, Minho drove her through Seoul in a sleek black Mercedes. The city lights blurred past as they headed toward Hanamdong, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in the city. So, Serafina said, breaking the charged silence, what do you actually do, Minho? I'm a prosecutor. Her eyes widened. A prosecutor? The senior prosecutor for the Seoul Central District. I handle organized crime, corruption, high-profile cases. He glanced at her. Does that frighten you? Should it? His lips curved. Some people find it intimidating. And others find it attractive. His eyes gleamed. Which are you? She didn't answer, but her racing pulse probably told him everything he needed to know. They ended up on the rooftop terrace of a high-rise building, his building, she realized. His penthouse. The view was breathtaking, Seoul spread out below them like a sea of lights. This is incredible, she breathed, walking to the edge. Minho came up behind her, close enough that she could feel his body heat. I come up here when I need to think. When cases get too dark and I need to remember there's still beauty in the world. Dark. I prosecute monsters, Serafina. Human traffickers. Murderers. Crime bosses who think they're above the law. His voice hardened. I've seen things that would give you nightmares. She turned to face him. Is that why you helped me tonight? Because you're used to protecting people. No. He stepped closer, and her back pressed against the railing. I helped you because I could not help you. Because I looked at you, and something inside me shifted. Woke up. Something I didn't know was sleeping. That's... She struggled for words. That's insane. We just met. I know. His hand came up, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. I know it makes no sense. But tell me you don't feel it too. This pull. This need. She did. God help her, she did. From the moment his arm had wrapped around her waist, she'd felt like she'd been claimed by something primal and absolute. I feel it, she admitted. But that doesn't mean it's real. It could just be adrenaline. The excitement of tonight. Playing pretend. Then let's stop pretending. His thumb stroked her cheekbone. Give me your number. Let me take you to dinner tomorrow. Let me prove this is more than adrenaline. And if it's not, then at least we'll know. His eyes burned into hers. But I already know, Serafina. I knew the moment I touched you. You're mine. You just don't realize it yet. The possessiveness in his voice should have alarmed her. Instead, it sent heat pooling in her stomach. I'm not anyone's. Not yet, he agreed. But you will be. He kissed her then, and the world fell away. His mouth was firm and demanding, claiming her with a thoroughness that left her breathless. She melted against him, her hands fisting in his jacket as he deepened the kiss. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. Tomorrow, he said firmly. Give me tomorrow. She gave him her number with trembling fingers. The next morning, Serafina woke to 17 missed calls from her mother, 32 texts from friends who'd been at the gala, and a message from an unknown number that made her heart race. * breakfast. The address below. Don't make me wait. MH*. She should have ignored it. Should have returned to her normal life and written off last night as a beautiful fantasy. Instead, she found herself showering, choosing her outfit carefully, a cream silk blouse and fitted black pants that made her curves look incredible, and taking a taxi to the address he'd sent. The restaurant was in Gangnam, exclusive and expensive, the kind of place that required reservations months in advance. Serafina gave Minho's name at the door and was immediately escorted to a private room overlooking the city. Minho stood when she entered. Today, he wore a charcoal gray suit that fit him perfectly, emphasizing his broad shoulders and lean build. His hair was styled back, revealing the sharp planes of his face. You came, he said, and there was relief in his voice. You sound surprised. I thought you might run. He pulled out her chair. After last night. After I came on too strong. Serafina sat, hyper-aware of his proximity as he pushed her chair in. You did come on strong. I know. He took his seat across from her. I should apologize. But I won't. Because I meant every word. A server appeared with coffee and an array of dishes, traditional Korean breakfast foods and Western options, as if Minho hadn't known her preferences and ordered everything. Tell me about yourself, Minho said once they were alone. Everything. I want to know everything. So she told him. About growing up in London, half British and half Nigerian, never quite fitting in anywhere. About her love of art that led her to open a gallery in Seoul 3 years ago. About Marcus, who'd seemed perfect until he'd decided her curves were too much and her ambition unfeminine. Minho's expression darkened at that. He's a fool. That's what you said last night. I'll say it again. You're extraordinary, Serafina. Your curves, your strength, your passion, any man who can't see that doesn't deserve you. Heat flooded her cheeks. And you? What about you? He told her about growing up in Seoul, the son of a high-ranking judge who'd expected perfection. About choosing prosecution because he wanted to make a real difference, not just uphold tradition. About the loneliness of his work, how people either feared him or wanted to use his connections. "The Reaper of Soul," Serafina said softly. "That's what they call you, isn't it? I looked you up this morning." His jaw tightened. "You did?" "Of course I did. A stranger claims to be my husband. I'm going to make sure he's not a serial killer." She paused. "The articles about you are intense. They say you're merciless. That criminals fear you more than prison. Does that frighten you?" "No," she admitted. "It makes me feel safe." Something blazing and possessive flashed in his eyes. He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I would never hurt you, Serafina. Never. But anyone who tries to hurt you, they'll learn exactly why they call me the Reaper." The next few days blurred together in a haze of stolen moments and growing obsession. Minho appeared at her gallery every day, always with some excuse. He brought her coffee, exactly how she liked it, with 2 sugars and a splash of cream, though she'd never told him. He sent flowers to her apartment, huge arrangements that filled every room with color and fragrance. He texted her good morning before she was awake and good night after she'd gone to bed. "He's courting you," her best friend Liana observed one afternoon, examining the latest flower delivery at the gallery. "Like, old-fashioned, serious courting." "It's too fast," Serafina protested, but her heart wasn't in it. "So? When you know, you know." Liana grinned. "And that man knows. He looks at you like you're the only person in the universe." He did. Every time Minho looked at her, Serafina felt naked, seen, claimed. It was intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. A week after the gala, everything shifted. Serafina was cataloging a new collection, contemporary pieces from emerging Korean artists, when her colleague David walked in. David was handsome in a boyish way, all charm and easy smiles. He'd been flirting with her for months, but she'd never been interested. Today, he seemed more persistent. "Sarah, have lunch with me," he said, leaning against her desk. "Come on, you've been turning me down for weeks." "I'm busy, David." "You're always busy." He reached out, tucking a curl behind her ear. "When are you going to give me a chance?" "She won't." Serafina's head snapped up. Minho stood in the doorway, and the expression on his face made her stomach flip. Gone was the gentle, charming man she'd been getting to know. This was the Reaper. Cold. Lethal. Furious. "Minho," she breathed. He crossed the room in 3 long strides, his presence filling the space. David stepped back instinctively, survival instinct recognizing a predator. "Who are you?" David asked, trying to sound confident and failing. "Her husband." Minho's voice was arctic. "And you need to keep your hands to yourself." "Her what?" "Sarah, you never said." "I'm saying it now," Minho interrupted. His hand settled on Serafina's waist, possessive and claiming. "She's mine. If you touch her again, I'll make sure you regret it." "Are you threatening me?" Minho smiled, and it was terrifying. "I don't threaten. I promise. And I promise you, if I see you flirting with my wife again, you'll discover exactly what I do to people who touch what's mine." David left quickly, practically running from the gallery. Serafina should have been angry at Minho's high-handedness. Instead, she was breathless, heat pooling low in her belly. That was, she started, necessary. Minho turned to face her fully, and the heat in his eyes stole her breath. "I can't stand watching other men touch you. Look at you like they have a chance. They don't. You're mine, Serafina." "We're not actually married," she reminded him, but her voice was weak. "Not yet." He stepped closer, backing her against the desk. "But we will be. Because I meant what I said that first night. You're mine. And I'm yours. Whether you admit it yet or not." "This is crazy," she whispered. "I know." His hand cupped her face. "I know it's too fast. Too intense. But I can't stop it. Can't stop wanting you. Needing you. Tell me to leave. Tell me you don't want this, and I'll walk away." But she couldn't. Because she did want it. Wanted him. This impossible, intense man who looked at her like she was his entire world. So she kissed him instead. This kiss was different from the one on the rooftop. Desperate. Hungry. Minho groaned against her mouth, his hands sliding into her hair. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him closer, and he lifted her onto the desk with easy strength. Serafina, he breathed against her lips. We should stop. Do you want to? No. God, no. His forehead pressed against hers. But I want to do this right. I want to take you on proper dates. Court you like you deserve. Not ravish you in your gallery like I've lost all control. Despite the heat coursing through her, she smiled. You're supposed to be this terrifying prosecutor. The Reaper. But you're actually… What? A gentleman. He laughed, low and rough. Only with you. Everyone else gets the monster. That evening, Minho took her to dinner at a traditional Korean restaurant in Bukshan. They sat on cushions in a private room, sharing dishes and talking for hours. He told her about his most recent case, a human trafficking ring he'd been building evidence against for 2 years. We're close to bringing them down, he said, his expression grim. But they're connected. Dangerous. They've threatened prosecutors before. Are you in danger? Always. He reached across the table, taking her hand. But that's not going to change. It's part of who I am. Then I'll worry about you. His eyes softened. No one's worried about me in a long time. Well, someone should. She squeezed his hand. You matter, Minho. Not just because of what you do, but because of who you are. The vulnerability in his expression nearly broke her heart. This powerful, feared man who secretly needed someone to care that he came home safe at night. Later, as he drove her home, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression hardened. I have to take this, he said, pulling over. Emergency with a case. She watched as he listened, his face growing darker with each passing second. When he hung up, he was silent for a long moment. What's wrong? She asked. The trafficking case. They know we're coming for them. They've accelerated their timeline. He looked at her, and there was fear in his eyes, not for himself, but for her. Serafina, I need you to be careful. These people, they've gone after prosecutors' families before. Her heart stuttered. But we're not actually. They don't know that. After the gala, after I claimed you as my wife, you became a target. His hand cupped her face. I should never have involved you in my world. But I was selfish. I wanted you so badly I didn't think about the consequences. I'm not afraid. You should be. These people are monsters. Then protect me. She turned her face into his palm. You said I was yours. Prove it. Keep me safe. Something fierce and possessive flashed across his face. Move in with me. What? Move into my penthouse. Let me hire security for you. Let me know you're safe every moment of every day. He pulled her closer. I can't lose you, Serafina. Not when I just found you. Minho, this is moving so fast. I don't care. I need to know you're protected. Please. She should have said no. Should have insisted on maintaining her independence. But the fear in his eyes was real, and so was the danger he described. Okay, she whispered. Okay. The next morning, Minho sent a team to pack her things. By evening, she was installed in his penthouse, her belongings mingling with his. It felt surreal and right all at once. Thank you, Minho said that night as they stood in his living room surrounded by her boxes. For trusting me. I do trust you. I don't know why, but I do. He pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. I'll keep you safe. I promise. For a week, everything was perfect. Minho was attentive and protective without being suffocating. He worked long hours, but always came home to her, exhaustion melting away when he saw her. They cooked together, talked for hours, fell asleep tangled together on his massive bed, though he never pushed for more than heated kisses, always stopping before they crossed the line. I want you to be sure, he explained one night when she'd tried to pull him closer. When we finally come together, I want there to be no doubts. No fear. Just us. Then Marcus reappeared. He showed up at the gallery 2 weeks after the gala, his engagement apparently broken and his pride in tatters. Serafina was alone, her assistant had called in sick, when he walked through the door. Sarah, he said, holding out flowers. I made a mistake. Claire and I are done. I want you back. Get out, Marcus. Just listen. I said get out. Why? Because of that Korean guy. Marcus's expression twisted. Come on, Sarah. You can't seriously be married. Everyone knows it was fake. You were trying to save face. Anger flooded through her. My relationship with Minho is none of your business. So you admit it's fake. I admit that I moved on. Something you should do too. Marcus stepped closer, and there was something ugly in his expression. You think he actually wants you? Look at you, Sarah. You're too much. Too curvy. Too loud. Too. Finish that sentence, a cold voice said from the doorway, and it will be the last thing you ever say. Minho stood there, and the expression on his face was murderous. Marcus went pale, stumbling backward. I told you, Minho said softly, crossing to Serafina, that if you ever came near her again, there would be consequences. Did you think I was joking? I just wanted to talk. You wanted to insult her. To make her feel small. Minho's arm wrapped around Serafina's waist, pulling her against him. Let me be very clear. She is not too much. She is perfect. Every curve. Every word. Every part of her that you were too small-minded to appreciate. And if you ever speak to her again, I will use every resource at my disposal to make your life a living hell. Am I understood? Marcus fled. When they were alone, Serafina turned in Minho's arms. You scared him. Good. He should be scared. His hands framed her face. Are you all right? What did he say to you? Nothing I haven't heard before. Serafina. I'm fine, Minho. Really? She smiled, though it felt shaky. You saved me. Again. Always. He kissed her forehead. I'll always save you. But that night, something shifted between them. The intensity that had been building for weeks finally reached its breaking point. They were in his kitchen, allegedly making dinner, when Minho turned from the stove and found Serafina watching him with an expression that made his breath catch. What? He asked. I'm tired of waiting. Serafina. You keep stopping. Keep pulling back. Saying you want me to be sure. She crossed to him, her hands settling on his chest. I'm sure, Minho. I've been sure since that first night. Maybe before. Maybe from the moment you touched me. His hands covered hers. If we do this. When we do this, she corrected. When, he agreed, his voice rough. When we do this, there's no going back. I'll never let you go. Never. You'll be mine in every way. Can you handle that? Can you handle that I'll expect the same from you? She rose on her toes, her lips brushing his. That I'll be just as possessive? Just as demanding? He groaned and kissed her, deep and hungry. God, yes. What followed was a blur of sensation. Minho lifted her into his arms, carrying her to his bedroom. They shed clothes between kisses, hands exploring newly revealed skin. When he laid her on his bed, his eyes drinking her in, Serafina felt beautiful. Wanted. Cherished. You're perfect, he breathed. Every inch of you. She pulled him down to her, and they came together in a tangle of limbs and gasping breaths. He was gentle at first, then fierce, then tender again, as if he couldn't decide how to claim her and settled for every way at once. When they finally fell apart, breathless and sated, Serafina felt fundamentally changed. Marked. His. Mine, Minho whispered against her skin, as if reading her thoughts. You're mine now. Forever. Yours, she agreed. But in the early morning hours, before dawn broke, doubt crept in. Serafina lay in Minho's arms and let reality crash over her. She'd known this man for barely 2 weeks. She'd appended her entire life for him. What if this was just physical? What if now that they'd crossed this line, he'd lose interest? The fears spiraled until she couldn't breathe. So she did the only thing that made sense in her panic state. She ran. She dressed silently, gathering her things. Minho didn't stir as she slipped from the bedroom. She made it to the elevator before the tears started. Minho woke to cold sheets and an empty bed. For a moment, he simply stared at the space where Serafina had been. Then rage and fear collided in his chest with volcanic force. She'd left. After everything, after she'd given herself to him, after he'd claimed her so thoroughly they'd both been trembling, she'd left. He dressed in record time, his mind already calculating where she would go. Not her old apartment, she'd given up the lease. Not the gallery, it wouldn't open for hours. Her friend Liana, then. It had to be. He had Liana's address in his phone within minutes. Prosecutor resources came in handy sometimes. When Liana opened her door 40 minutes later, her eyes widened. You. Where is she? I'm not telling you that. Liana. His voice was strained. Please. I need to talk to her. You need to? What about what she needs? Liana crossed her arms. She showed up here an hour ago crying, convinced you're going to ghost her now that you've slept together. So maybe what she needs is space from you. The words hit him like a physical blow. She thinks he broke off, running his hands through his hair. I would never. God, doesn't she know? How could she think I'd abandon her? Because she's been hurt before. Because this all happens so fast. Because she's scared, you idiot. Let me see her. Please. Liana studied him for a long moment, then sighed. She's on the balcony. Serafina sat curled in a patio chair, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sunrise. She didn't turn when the door opened, but her voice was small. Liana, I told you I'm fine. You're not fine, Minho said. She spun, eyes wide. How did you? Did you really think I wouldn't come after you? He crossed the balcony in 3 strides, dropping to his knees in front of her chair. Did you think I'd just let you leave? I thought. Her voice broke. I thought now that that I'd what? Decide you weren't enough? That I'd lose interest. His hands framed her face, forcing her to look at him. Serafina, you're everything. Everything I didn't know I was missing. Everything I didn't dare hope existed. We barely know each other. Then we'll spend the rest of our lives learning. But don't you dare run from me. Don't you dare think that one night, one connection, could ever be enough. His voice turned fierce. I want every night. Every morning. Every moment. I want to wake up with you in my arms and fall asleep knowing you're safe and mine. I want forever, Serafina. With you. Only you. Tears streamed down her face. What if it's too much? What if I'm too much? Then I'll take too much. I'll take all of you. Every insecurity. Every fear. Every beautiful, overwhelming part of you. He kissed her, soft and reverent. You're not too much. You're exactly enough. Exactly right. Exactly mine. She kissed him back, desperate and relieved, and when they finally broke apart, she was smiling through her tears. Take me home, she whispered. Always. They returned to the penthouse, to the life they were building together. Minho took the day off work, unprecedented, and they talked. Really talked. About fears and expectations and what forever meant to both of them. I'm not easy, Serafina warned. I'm emotional. I need reassurance sometimes. And I'm possessive, Minho interrupted. Jealous. Overprotective. I'll probably drive you insane wanting to know where you are every moment. Sounds perfect, she said, and they both laughed. For a few blissful days, everything was perfect. Then the real danger began. Minho's case against the trafficking ring was reaching its climax. He came home late one evening, exhaustion and stress radiating from him. We're moving on them tomorrow, he told Serafina over the dinner she'd prepared. It's going to be dangerous. I need you to stay here. Don't leave the building. Promise me. I promise. He didn't look convinced. Serafina, I mean it. These people, if they know the raid is coming, they might try to grab leverage. And you're my biggest weakness now. I'll be careful. But fate had other plans. The next day, Serafina received a call from the gallery. A major collector wanted to see specific pieces, but only if she personally showed them. It was the sale she'd been chasing for months. The one that would secure the gallery's future. She hesitated, remembering her promise. But the collector was only available that afternoon. And she'd be in public, at the gallery, surrounded by people. What could go wrong? Everything, it turned out. She was locking up the gallery after the successful sale when 2 men grabbed her from behind. A cloth pressed over her mouth, something chemical and sweet. The world went fuzzy, then black. Minho was in the middle of the raid, coordinating teams, making arrests, when his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. A photo. Serafina. Bound to a chair. Bruised. Terrified. The caption read, * your wife for the evidence. You have 2 hours, *. The world stopped. Everything, the raid, the arrests, justice, became meaningless. There was only one truth that mattered. They had her. I need a trace on this number, he barked at his team. Now. Sir, the raid. I don't care about the raid. His voice was a roar that made everyone in the room flinch. Find her. Find her now, or I swear to God. His second-in-command, Detective Park, stepped forward. We're on it, sir. We'll find her. Minho stared at the photo, his hands shaking. The bruise on Serafina's cheek. The fear in her eyes. The way her wrists were bound so tightly the rope had left marks. He'd promised to protect her. And he'd failed. How long for the trace? His voice was ice now, the terror channeled into cold fury. 10 minutes. Maybe less. It was the longest 10 minutes of his life. Minho paced like a caged predator, his mind cycling through every horrible possibility. What they might do to her. How scared she must be. Whether she was hurt beyond what the photo showed. When the trace came through, he was moving before anyone could stop him. Sir, you need backup. I don't need backup. I need my wife. He grabbed his gun, checked the clip. Anyone who wants to help can follow. But I'm not waiting. They'd taken her to a warehouse in Incheon, near the docks. Of course. Isolated. Easy to dispose of evidence. Minho's tactical team mobilized, but he was already in his car, driving like a man possessed. He called the number that had sent the photo. A man answered, voice smug and cruel. Prosecutor Kong. Right on time. If you've hurt her, she's alive. For now, bring the evidence. Come alone. You have 1 hour. Let me talk to her. There was a pause, then shuffling. Then Serafina's voice, shaky but defiant. Minho, don't give them anything. I'm okay. The sound of a slap echoed through the phone. Serafina cried out. Something in Minho snapped. The Reaper emerged fully, no longer restrained by law or procedure or mercy. I'm coming, he said, his voice deadly calm. And when I get there, every single one of you is going to wish you'd never been born. He hung up and pressed the accelerator to the floor. Inside the warehouse, Serafina fought to stay conscious. Her head throbbed where they'd hit her, and her wrists burned from the ropes. 3 men guarded her, all armed. The leader, the one who'd slapped her, stood smoking by the window. Your husband's coming, he said conversationally. The great prosecutor Kong, brought to his knees by a woman. Pathetic. He'll destroy you, Serafina said, her voice steadier than she felt. The man laughed. He'll trade his evidence for you. Then we'll kill you both. You don't know him. No? The man moved closer, crouching in front of her. I know he's a prosecutor. Bound by rules. By law. He won't risk your life. You're wrong. Serafina met his eyes. He's a prosecutor when he's hunting criminals. But for me? For me, he's something else entirely. The man frowned, uncertainty flickering across his face. What does that mean? It means you should pray he gets here before I figure out how to get out of these ropes. Because if I get free first, you'll only have to deal with me. But if he arrives while I'm still tied up. She smiled, and it was all teeth. Then you'll face the Reaper. And, trust me, you don't want that. Before the man could respond, the warehouse lights cut out. In the darkness, gunshots rang out. Shouts. Screams. The sound of bodies hitting concrete. Then silence. The emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in red. Serafina's guards were on the ground, unconscious or worse. And Minho stood in the doorway, gun raised, his expression absolutely terrifying. Serafina, he said, his voice rough. Close your eyes. She did. She heard the leader try to run. Heard Minho's footsteps, swift and sure. A struggle. A sickening crack. Then nothing. Open them, Minho said, suddenly right in front of her. He was cutting through her ropes with a knife, his hands gentle despite the violence still radiating from him. The moment she was free, he pulled her into his arms, crushing her against his chest. I've got you, he breathed. I've got you. You're safe. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I broke my promise. I left the building. I'm so sorry. Shoo. It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. He pulled back just enough to examine her face, his fingers ghosting over the bruise on her cheek. Did they? Just this. They were waiting for you. They won't wait for anything ever again. His team arrived then, flooding the warehouse. Detective Park took one look at the scene and wisely said nothing. Minho had operated outside procedure, outside his authority as a prosecutor. But no one was going to question the Reaper when he'd just saved his wife. Get her checked out, Minho ordered, handing Serafina to a female officer. Full medical exam. I want every injury documented. Where are you going? Serafina asked, panic flaring. To finish this. His eyes were cold. The people who ordered your kidnapping. They're going to pay. Minho. He kissed her, hard and possessive. I'll come back to you. I promise. But first, I need to make sure no one ever threatens you again. He kept that promise. Over the next week, Minho dismantled the entire trafficking operation with ruthless efficiency. Every arrest. Every asset seizure. Every connection exposed. He didn't just prosecute them, he destroyed them, using every legal means at his disposal and a few that skirted the edges. The media called it the biggest takedown in Seoul's history. They praised Prosecutor Kang's dedication and brilliance. They had no idea it was all for one woman. Serafina recovered at the penthouse, surrounded by security that made the building feel like a fortress. Minho barely left her side, working from home, conducting meetings via video. At night, he held her close, as if afraid she might disappear if he let go. You need to sleep, she told him one night, running her fingers through his hair. I will. In a minute. Minho. I keep seeing it, he admitted quietly. The photo they sent. You tied up. Scared. And I wasn't there. I couldn't protect you. But you saved me. I almost lost you. His arms tightened around her. I can't, Serafina. I can't survive losing you. You're everything. Everything I am, everything I want to be, it all centers on you. She tilted his face up, forcing him to meet her eyes. Then don't lose me. Keep me. Forever. Forever, he agreed. But I need to make it official. Real. Not just a lie we told at a gala. He reached for the nightstand, pulling out a small velvet box. Serafina's breath caught. I was going to wait, Minho said, opening the box to reveal a stunning sapphire ring surrounded by diamonds. Do this properly. Romantic dinner. Rose petals. The whole production. But I can't wait anymore. I need you to be mine in every way the law recognizes. In every way that matters. Minho. Marry me, Serafina Cole. For real this time. Not because your ex is watching or because we need a cover story. Marry me because you love me the way I love you. Because we're already bound together in every way that matters, and I want the world to know it. Tears streamed down her face. Yes. God, yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, because of course he'd known her size, and kissed her with a tenderness that made her heart ache. How did you know my size? She asked when they broke apart. I'm a prosecutor. I investigated. You're obsessed. Completely, he agreed. Is that a problem? Not even a little bit. They married 3 months later in a private ceremony at a traditional Hanok in Bukshan. Serafina wore a dress that made Minho's eyes darken with desire, white lace that hugged her curves and made her look like something from a dream. Minho wore a perfectly tailored black suit, but she could see the emotion in his eyes as she walked toward him. You're stunning, he murmured when she reached him. And you're mine, she whispered back. Always was. Always will be. The ceremony was intimate, just close friends and family. Liana cried through the entire thing. Minho's father, stern and imposing, actually smiled when his son kissed his bride. And when the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the kiss that followed was deep enough to make several guests clear their throats. Finally official, Serafina said against his lips. Finally, Minho agreed. Though you've been mine since that first night. And you've been mine. The reception was elegant and joyful, but Minho spent most of it watching his wife with an expression of such fierce possession that several people commented on it. "He looks at her like she might disappear," someone whispered. "He looks at her like she's his entire world," someone else corrected. Both were true. That night, in the penthouse that was now officially theirs together, Minho made love to his wife with a reverence that brought tears to her eyes. He touched her like she was precious. Rare. His. "I love you," he breathed against her skin. "I'll love you until my last breath. And probably beyond that." "I love you too," she whispered. "My husband. My protector. My home." The first year of their marriage was a study in domestic bliss, mixed with Minho's dangerous work. He continued prosecuting high-profile cases, but now he came home to warmth and light and love. Serafina's gallery flourished, her reputation growing as she showcased increasingly important artists. They fought occasionally, both too passionate and strong-willed to avoid conflict, but they always came back together, the connection between them too strong to stay fractured. "You're infuriating," Serafina told him after one argument about his refusal to take a vacation. "And you're stubborn," he countered. "Good thing we love each other then." "Very good thing," he agreed, pulling her into his arms. One evening, about 18 months after their wedding, Serafina felt different. Tired. Emotional. Her body felt strange in ways she couldn't quite articulate. When she missed her period, she stared at the calendar for a long moment before reality crashed over her. She bought 3 pregnancy tests on the way home from the gallery, her hands shaking as she paid. In the bathroom of their penthouse, she took all 3 tests, unable to believe the results until she saw them with her own eyes. Positive. All 3. She sat on the bathroom floor, crying and laughing at once, her hand pressed to her still flat stomach. A baby. Their baby. The product of a love that had started with a desperate lie and become the most real thing in her life. Minho found her there 20 minutes later, still sitting on the floor surrounded by positive pregnancy tests. "Serafina." He was on his knees instantly, hands cupping her face. "What's wrong? Are you hurt? Did something happen?" She held up one of the tests wordlessly. He went completely still, his eyes moving from the test to her face and back again. Are you pregnant?" she whispered. "We're having a baby." For a long moment, he didn't move, didn't speak. Then slowly, reverently, he placed his hand on her stomach, his palm warm through her shirt. "A baby," he breathed. "Our baby." "Are you happy?" she asked, suddenly nervous. "We didn't plan this. It's probably terrible timing with your caseload and the gallery expansion." "Happy?" His voice broke. "Serafina, you've given me everything. Your love. Your trust. Your body. Your name. And now a child." He kissed her, deep and possessive. "I'm so far beyond happy there isn't a word for it." "Really? Really?" He pulled her into his lap, holding her close. "You're carrying my child. My heir. A piece of both of us. How could I be anything but ecstatic?" She laughed through her tears. "We're going to be parents. We are." He pressed his forehead to hers. "And I'm going to spend every day making sure our child knows how much they're loved. How much their mother is loved. How lucky we are to be a family." The pregnancy was mostly smooth, though Minho became even more protective, something Serafina hadn't thought possible. He accompanied her to every doctor's appointment, held her hair when morning sickness struck, rubbed her feet when they swelled, read parenting books with an intensity he usually reserved for case files. "You're going to be an amazing father," she told him one night, watching him assemble a crib with fierce concentration. "I'm going to try." He looked up at her, vulnerability clear in his eyes. "I didn't have the best example growing up. My father was cold, distant. I don't want that for our child. You won't be. You're already so different." She moved to him, running her fingers through his hair. "You're protective and present and loving. Our baby is so lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," he murmured, his hand settling on her swollen belly. "Both of you are miracles I never thought I'd have." 9 months after that positive test, Serafina went into labor on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Minho was in court when her water broke, and the panic in his voice when she called him would have been funny if she hadn't been in so much pain. "I'm coming," he said. Don't have the baby yet. I'm coming." "I don't think I can control that," she gasped. "Try. Please. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He made it in 7, bursting into the hospital room where Serafina was already being prepped. His suit was disheveled, his hair wild, his eyes desperate. "I'm here," he said, taking her hand. "I'm here. You're not doing this alone." Wasn't planning on it, she managed between contractions. Labor was long and difficult, but Minho never left her side. He held her hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement when she was ready to give up, threatened the medical staff when they suggested interventions she didn't want. "You're doing so well," he murmured, pressing kisses to her sweaty forehead. "So strong. So beautiful. I love you so much. If you ever put another baby in me," she gasped, "I'm going to kill you." He laughed despite the situation. "We can discuss that later." Finally, after 14 hours of labor, their daughter entered the world with a healthy cry. The nurse placed her on Serafina's chest, and time stopped. She was perfect. Tiny and wrinkled and absolutely perfect, with Minho's dark hair and features that were already clearly a blend of both parents. "Hello, baby," Serafina whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We've been waiting for you." Minho stood frozen beside the bed, staring at his daughter with an expression of such profound wonder that it took Serafina's breath away. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and touched the baby's tiny hand. Her fingers wrapped around his, and something in his face crumbled. "She's so small," he breathed. "She's perfect. She's ours." He looked at Serafina, and there were tears on his face. "We made her. You and me. She's a piece of both of us." The nurse took the baby to clean her up, and Minho sat on the edge of Serafina's bed, pulling her into his arms. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for her. For this. For everything. We did this together. I know. But you're the one who carried her. Who went through hours of pain to bring her into the world. You're incredible, Serafina. The strongest person I've ever known." They named her Jiwoo. Beautiful and precious, the name meant. And she was both, the light of their lives from the moment she was born. In the hospital room that night, with Jiwoo sleeping peacefully in her bassinet, Minho sat in the chair beside Serafina's bed and simply watched them both. His wife. His daughter. His family. "What are you thinking?" Serafina asked sleepily. "I'm thinking about that night at the gala," he said quietly. "When you asked a stranger to pretend to be your husband. When I had no idea that one moment would change my entire life. Best decision I ever made." "Best decision we ever made," he corrected. "You asked me to pretend." "But I wasn't pretending, Serafina. From that first moment, when I touched you and something in me recognized you, I wasn't pretending. I was claiming. Promising. Falling." "I know." She reached for his hand. "I know, because I felt it too. Like the universe was saying, here, this is yours. Keep it." And I did. He stood, moving to the bed, careful not to jostle her. "I kept you. I fought for you. I would have burned down the entire city to keep you safe. I know that too." He kissed her softly. "I love you. I love Jiwoo. I love this life we've built from a lie that was never really a lie at all." "I love you too," she whispered. "My husband. For real this time. Forever this time." "Forever," he agreed. Outside the hospital room, Seoul glittered with evening lights. And in that room, surrounded by the family he'd never imagined having, Kang Minho finally understood what it meant to be truly, completely happy. He'd been called the Reaper. The terror of Seoul's criminal underworld. Merciless. Untouchable. Feared. But to Serafina, he was simply Minho. Her husband. The man who'd saved her when she'd been desperate. Who'd claimed her when she'd needed claiming. Who'd given her a love so fierce and protective and consuming that it had transformed them both. And to Jiwoo, he would simply be Appa. The father who would move heaven and earth to keep her safe. Who would teach her that love was worth fighting for. That sometimes the best things in life started with a desperate plea and a beautiful stranger willing to pretend. 2 years later, their family expanded again, a son this time, Min-jae, who had his mother's curves and his father's intensity even as a baby. The penthouse filled with toys and laughter and the chaos of small children. Minho continued his work as a prosecutor, now with even more motivation to make Seoul safer. Serafina's gallery became one of the most prestigious in the city, her eye for talent unmatched. But every evening, no matter how demanding their days had been, they came home to each other. To the family they'd built. To the love that had started with a lie and become the truest thing either of them had ever known. Do you ever regret it? Serafina asked one night, years later, as they stood on the balcony watching the city lights. Inside, their children slept peacefully. That night at the gala, helping a desperate stranger, Minho pulled her against him, his chin resting on top of her head. Not for a single second. That desperate stranger became my wife. My love. The mother of my children. The center of my entire world. He turned her to face him. Regret you? I'd live that night 1,000 times over if it meant ending up here. With you. With this. She kissed him, soft and sweet. I love you, Prosecutor Kong. I love you, Mrs. Kong. He smiled. My wife. For real. Forever. Forever, she agreed. And in a city of millions, in a penthouse high above the glittering streets, two people who'd started with a lie held each other close and knew they'd found the truest thing of all. Love. Real. Consuming. Eternal. The kind of love worth pretending for. Worth fighting for. Worth everything. The end. Thank you so much for watching, dearies. If Minho's obsessive love and Serafina's courage made your heart race, please don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves dark romance, and subscribe to Afroseoul Stories for more addictive love stories every week. Hit that notification bell so you never miss when we drop the next tale of passion, danger, and happily ever after. Drop a comment below telling us your favorite moment. Was it when Minho first claimed her as his wife, or when he tore down the world to save her? We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep believing in love that conquers all. This is Afroseoul Stories. See you guys in the next video.